So we'll call the meeting to order and we'll start roll call. District 1, Mr. Jeffrey Lee.
Present.
District 2, Dr. Samuel Valme.
Present.
District 3, Mrs. Diane Easter. Present. District 4, me, Felicia Harrell, present. And District 5 is vacant. Tax Commissioners appointees, Mr. Lee Kelly. Absent. Mr. Nicholas Craig.
Present.
And the Clerk of Superior Court selected alternate, Dr. Erica Pike, present, and our other seat is vacant. Would anyone like to, we're gonna approval of the minutes. I apologize, my brain's tired tonight, but I'm gonna try to make it through. Would anyone like to propose that we move the minutes? Anyone like to second that?
I second.
Thank you. All in favor? And next on our agenda is general updates from the Ethics Administrator.
Evening, Chair Board. I have two quick updates for you. The first one is our District 5 replacements. So I do have 4 applicants right now. I'm awaiting drug screens and background checks on 2 of them. As soon as I get an email from HR clearing them, then we'll move forward with interviews with the grand jury. We'll be able to get in there by August 20th. So hopefully before the end of the month, we'll have the District 5 seat occupied.
That's the fastest process we've experienced with occupying a seat.
So hopefully before the end of the month, that could be filled. Anybody have any questions about that? Okay, my second update is about the fall forum. So it was set for September. I have sent out an email flyer to all county employees. So that's gone out to everybody. I've also reached out to the editor of the Henry Herald, and he is going to post it on their Facebook page. He's going to post it on their webpage, and he will also be putting it in the newspaper for us for free. So he's doing that favor for us to reach more citizens in the county. I have also, today I went to the square and just walked around to the different businesses in the square and I put flyers. A lot of them, were interested, but they didn't even know we existed. So they took some flyers and they're either going to post them on their door or put them on their community boards for us. So there was a lot of good feedback from the businesses in the square for that. I went to Main Street McDonough, which is kind of like a welcome center down there. They've already have our flyer posted on their door. And she said that they were all going to post on their Facebook page.
Wow.
So we are, getting a little bit more exposure. I also took a flyer over to the administration building. They have like a little community board that they right there by the front door. So she said they put it up for us as well. And so we're just ready for the forum, and hopefully we'll start getting some questions.
Are we doing a RSVP list for this? Just so we get a head count or just show up?
They can just show up because I think that community room seats 100 people.
All right, so
Does anybody have any questions or?
what's the day did you say? The day?
Yes, it's going to be September 11th from 6 to 7:30.
Is it says 10th on the flyer.
Flyer says 10th.
The 11th is a different one. It is the 10th, I'm sorry. It is September 10th at 6 p.m. If my board members could please show up at least 15, 20 minutes early for me, I'd appreciate that.
And are we all able to attend, or we'll kind of get back to that once you check your calendars?
Should be good.
That'd be good as well. So let's see, I need to note that.
Is it at the community room?
Administration building. What's the format? It's gonna be in, do you want to talk? Administrative building? Where is that?
I'm sorry.
Is the address also on the flyer?
Yes,
Okay.
it is, it's the administration building and it'll be in the community room.
Are you feeding the board before we start?
No, ma'am. So y'all, where you get there?
So come forward. Thank you.
Does everybody have a name tag? No,
No.
I do not. Easter does not. You, everybody else should.
For Henry County or just any name?
No, just our name tag. It says Henry County.
Oh, no, I don't have one.
Okay. I'll try to finish you one before we. Is there any other questions?
So, right, moving on to item D, general updates from the ethics office.
Afternoon, board. Relate to general update from the ethics officer. I will first start off with the ethics forum. That's kind of where Ms. Bannister left off. The ethics forum, I came up with the proposed agenda. I believe you all may have a copy in front of you. We are anticipating for this class, maybe an hour and a half. It's going to go into generally 15-minute segments. First segment being our welcome and opening remarks from chair, educating people of the purpose of the forum while we're having it, an introduction of each of our board members, giving them a little history about the board in general, talking about ethical standards and code of conduct, highlighting some key issues from the code and what the code means, why the code was created by the legislators, talk about the ethics complaint process, who can file a complaint, what that looks like, talk about real life scenarios, cases where the board has actually had to dismiss complaints while we had to dismiss them, and then giving different scenarios where the board has actually moved forward on different complaints because they were considered ethical violations. Talk about the training that we do for the county, educating county on what the training looks like, and then having questions and answers. We are asking them to pre-submit the answers by a certain deadline so that we can get those to the board and we're not having a situation where people are getting up there and it becomes more of a political fit, is a little more monitored. So this is the suggested or proposed agenda for the board to review. Y'all can let us know if you want any changes to the agenda, and we'll be happy to move things or make things longer or shorter. You all can review it and just let us know.
I have a question. With the proposed agenda, are the different parts of this agenda taken on by different members of the board, or is this something you're just kind of gonna explain in those different portions of it then?
I think it should be taken on by each member of the board, so that way the community can put a name with a face and there's talking points for everybody.
So you want us to divvy up 1 through 6?
If you all would like, if you all are not comfortable in doing that, then I can figure out the ones that are comfortable, how we can divide those up.
Okay.
I thought that I would take the complaint process. And that would probably be a good one for me to take whatever y'all want, to be honest.
Number 4, item 4. So we're basically once I open, I'll give it to the rest of the board. Introduction to the Henry County Board of Ethics. My vice chair. And then however else you want to do it. If anyone wants to volunteer for a particular portion, if you want to think about it, but if you're comfortable now, what you'd like to take on.
I don't have a problem with number 3.
This is
do that all the time anyway.
So for number 5, are we pretty much just like reading a scenario and discussing, like, what does that look like?
So I can create the scenario for you and either you can read it or you can talk about it. If you want to do 5, then I can get together personally and we can create which scenarios we feel like would be good examples.
Can I add Dr. Valmet to that one? Since the case studies and scenarios. since he's had some hearing experience.
On number 5?
Yes. So we can talk about it
That would be
together.
Dr. Bauman and Dr. Pike.
Yep.
And we have, Mr. Craig and Mr.
Like 6.
Lee, Mr. Kelly.
I'm gonna need have some questions on it. I'll get with y'all.
We'll get Mr. Kelly to help as well, if he's okay with it. If not, Mr. Craig, he might just be, but we can help. As a full board.
That is all the updates I have regarding the proposed agenda. As it relates to, the other updates.
Okay.
This is where we stand with our cases today. Currently we have 52 that we have accumulated for 2025. Now, some of those the board has already disposed of, some of are in the pipeline. But I say that to say the most cases we've ever had. The board has been formed. Tonight, we will address the Miss Parks case, which is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cases. We will handle the couple part tonight. Monica Jackson versus Rocky Romero. We just received that one. That is not for tonight, but I did receive it prior to today. I put it on there. We also just received a new complaint today. Next month, we will have 2 probable cause hearings. We have these 4 hearings are 4 cases that are currently under formal investigation. That is Mr. Tripp versus Mr. Morris and Whitaker, Mr. Morrison versus Ms. Matthews and Mr. Johnson. The board should have received a formal entry of appearance by way of an attorney for the case with Mr. Morrison, and they have filed a formal answer. So that is now it's still within the formal investigation phase. It's not ready for a hearing yet. Our John Doe versus Rocky Romero, John Doe versus Betty Croft, and John Doe versus Mayor Hernandez is ready for a hearing. Ms. Bannister is getting with the admin building to see what we can have the building available for us, and then she would then get with the court reporter and get with the hearing officer to make sure the dates align. The question that we have for the board is, I can have the Tripp case, and I believe the Morrison case. I know for sure the Tripp case ready for a hearing as well. Do you all want to have one day with multiple hearings on multiple days? If you choose one day with multiple hearings, depending on what dates we have, I may just need to push the later date out so I can get all 3 ready at one time. If you all want to break them up, we can just get as soon as possible for the one that is ready right now. It's up to you all.
I'd have to go back and look at the details of the ones for Mr. Joe versus everybody. And for Mr. Tripp, because I'm curious, depending on how many witnesses, typically a hearing can drag based on the number of witnesses and them having to go out and in and out and in. And then if we're there, we have to break for lunch. But I would like to have them all in one, but I do believe the county manager and the deputy county manager are gonna need their own day.
I also think, well, remember the board said presentation limit to 1 hour, but I will be asking the board for an extension on that 1 hour on the John Doe case. I do not believe I can present to the board everything I need to present for 1 hour. And I have about 5 witnesses.
That's why I say we may need at least a day and a half for the county manager and deputy manager to go to hearing.
Want to do those to that days if possible, or
The board's
1 week
available.
and then a week later.
What does the board want to do?
Or would it be more efficient to actually get what dates the admin building has available first and present all the dates to the board?
Yes, please.
I think that would be better.
Because if we have a lingering case that may have to continue the next day, it may behoove us to have it back to back if it's possible. I'm just basing that because we've had cases where we did not think it was gonna last as long as it did.
Those are all my case updates. Are there any questions in regards to cases or hearings?
So when you do the hearings, right, are you out, providing, is it almost like a jury where you get, like a letter? Or one?
Because usually for juries, you know, by law, your employer has to excuse you. Because this is a volunteer board, I don't think they have to.
But if you need a work excuse, we can say, hey, you were actually here today. I don't know if they'll accept it, but we'll confirm.
It's okay. I just wanted to see the options.
We can provide whatever. If it, you know, if they ask for that request, we certainly can provide.
And one thing we look at too, if like that would be an issue for you, if we know we have the rest of the board that's free, you're an alternate. So if we have a form, then she could possibly be excused if it looks like it's gonna be multiple days.
And the only reason why is if you can make it, please do. Because we've had in the past, a board member tell us 30 minutes before that they couldn't make it. And we almost did not have quorum. Like only because one person wanted to recuse themselves. But technically, the chair gets to decide, and the chair at that time decided with the attorney that was not necessary to recuse them based on that relationship. But we almost actually had to cancel a hearing because of the last minute I didn't show. But I don't, obviously you gotta eat, so I don't wanna, cause you any harm at work, but if you can, please do.
The next updates that I have is in regard to the website. The last meeting, Chair, you asked us to put the district number beside everybody's name on the
I
website.
did.
We did it.
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, good. So, not only did we do that, but I didn't like how everybody was out of order
I either, but I didn't want to seem vain and didn't say anything
when I
about it.
changed it.
Okay, I appreciate that.
No problem. So now everybody is listed by, actual order. And then Miss Easter and Mr. Pratt have your bios, they're up. Everybody's picture is up, so everything is fully updated. As it relates to the absences, I did go back and look at the December meeting.
No, I'm listening.
That it was not in that meeting. So I went back to November meeting. November meeting is when we went through the changes. I cannot hear when we talked about that specifically. So then I looked at my two drafts, and based on my two drafts, the ultimate decision, as I was editing it as the board was saying, was 5 absences. But that still doesn't equate to 60%. So I think the board just need to reback on that issue.
And with my reading comprehension issues, I'm gonna need some paper to go back and look at that.
So we can table that into the next meeting.
Okay.
And we'll review, would you like to go ahead and review any other changes to the rules and procedures, or you just want to look at that one issue?
Are you proposing any changes?
If not, we just changed in December of 2024.
I think we can vote. Does any other board member have any thoughts about or wanting to or desires to change any parts of our handbook? Okay, then we'll vote on that.
Okay,
So that way we'll all be fresh for all of us to take a look at it.
we'll do. I put a front back up here, Dr. Valmy, for the amount of trainings that have been completed, so you can see a visual. We have had 1,585 trainings completed as of Friday. 89% of the virtual are completed, only 11% is left. Every department is almost done. I spoke with Parks and Rec on, I believe it's sometime last week. They're gonna have a deadline of September the 1st. All of their summer seasonal workers have been deleted out of the system because they're gone, and some of them transitioned to aftercare. But they have the September 1st deadline. Our police department, we are down to just 4 that needs to be trained, and out of those 4, they're on some type of leave. Once they are done, they are done. We have completely finished Transportation Advisory Board. They did their in-person training, transit, purchasing department, tax assessors, tax assessor board. I think that's it. So all 5 of those board of commissioners, they all will now be receiving their certificates as completed.
I almost shouted. Let me tell you that, I don't, a lot of the board members we're sort of new. And, the tough time that we had as a county, since now them embracing us as a board, knowing more about it, and they're using us, obviously, with the complaints they're filing. But it speaks wonders about, one, your relation with the county and the county employees and the different departments and the trust you built with them as a staff. So we thank you for that. And their commitment to wanting to have some code of ethics. So I think it speaks volumes about the board, the county as well as the staff here. So thank you.
You're welcome. Dr. Balme, you asked a couple of meetings about some type of evaluation form. Do you remember? For trainings?
Vaguely.
When you asked, I implemented it.
Okay.
But I don't know how the board wants me to, do you all just want an end of the year summary, or do you want a copy of all the training evaluations? What would you prefer? Because I have done it for every class since then.
Is it a questionnaire or?
No, it is, well, I guess, yeah, it's kind of a questionnaire where they fill it in. I have one.
Should be. Do they do it electronically or are they writing?
They do it,
Put it in the.
right after the presentation.
Or hold that they get when they apply.
Split up there. I said split. Take one part, yeah. Wow, yeah.
Electronically, and that way you won't have to.
That sounds very efficient. Unfortunately not.
Okay, since it's not really computerized, I guess the best way to look at it would be a matrix of what was disagreed on or strongly disagreed on. That'll be the easiest way instead of.
But just take those and present.
And the additional comments.
And the additional comments. For transparency, I usually don't read them. But I noticed that a lot of people don't write additional comments.
Do you want me to? do?
Yes, please.
Okay. That's fine.
Um,
Just stack them up. Okay. Do you want to report monthly or quarterly?
Quarterly is fine.
Let's do quarterly.
With the additional comments, reading those is important because I think people who take the time to write comment, it means something to them, so.
only classes that don't get evaluation forms, or I don't ask them to do it, is new hire. Because they don't get the depth of the training. That I'm only in there maybe 30 minutes, and it's just introducing them to the bones of what the code is. To the full classes where they get the 2.5 hours.
Are they required to take the full class when made available, first available? Or no?
No. So once for the new hire, that day that they get hired and they're going through all county requirements, they work me in that day.
And then when do they take the full 2 hours?
The next year. Any other question in regards to training?
I don't know, to be quite honest with you, I think they should have a form. Because if it's short and sweet, we need to make sure we're covering them what they feel gave them enough depth to understand what it is or what it isn't and how it's different from.
They have the pen in the package, I can just start asking, because our package is the same thing. Just usually don't ask them to fill it out, but I can start asking them to fill it out.
They may need a different form for the short class, the new, so we'll know how to grade that form.
I agree. I think a new form would be better,
The new hire.
because a lot of the time when they are coming in, they don't even know what the code is. They don't know what they're looking for.
It's already difficult.
Questions or concerns?
I think this is great. Thank you.
Moving on to item E, continuance of presentation ethics officer of probable cause hearing on case 2025 EB 8. Dana Parks versus Bernita Campbell versus David Smith versus Sherry Matthews versus Holly Fontaine versus Shannon Sagnac and versus Rachel Mack.
But in regards to this case, I will call it Shayna Parks versus et al. As it relates to jurisdiction, we do have jurisdiction. Ms. Bernita Campbell is the Director of Budget. Mr. David Smith is the Director of Financial Services. Ms. Sherry Matthews is the County Manager. Ms. Holly Fontaine is the Director of Human Resources and Risk Management. Ms. Shannon Sagnac is the Director of Administration and
Constituent.
Thank you, Constituent Services / Community Development, and Ms. Ray is our county attorney. When it comes to the subject matter, the allegation is failure to show impartiality in performing official duties and the misuse of position. The allegations by the complainant is as follows. The complainant alleges multiple high-ranking officials within Henry County government mishandled or neglected retaliation and discrimination complaint filed during the complainant's employment. This complainant is a former employer of Henry County. She was working in the budget department as a budget analyst too. According to the complaint, county leadership failed to provide substantive responses, instead offering vague and evasive communication, thereby obstructing accountability and violating ethical legal obligations. Specifically, the allegations that were included was the misuse of official position by law, the failure to disclose conflicts of interest, conduct becoming of a public official, and neglect of official duties. These were specific legal obligations that the complainant alleged were violated. The complainant further asserts that the county leadership had fostered a hostile environment by misusing the probationary employment policy. Instead of serving as a development or evaluative tool, the policy is allegedly weaponized to remove employees who raise concerns or engage in protected activity. The complainant contends this practice has normalized retaliation, silence reporting of misconduct, and created a culture of fear within the workplace. I reviewed evidence that was submitted. Ms. Parks submitted the internal investigation memo from Ms. Shannon Sagnac that had several exhibits to it. I did print one hard copy for the board that's in the middle of the table, but the exhibits included the summary of her investigation, Ms. Parks' offer letter, as well as her termination letter, emails, and various notes that were provided by Ms. Parks and Ms. Sagnac. Those notes included Ms. Parks' handwritten notes from different meetings with particularly Ms. Campbell, the emails between Ms. Sagnac and Ms. Parks, interview notes with Mr. Marcus Adams, who's also a budget analyst, interview notes with Ms. Ivy Adams, who is also a budget analyst, interview notes with Ms. Campbell, the Director of Budget, interview notes with Ms. Victoria Rogers, who is in HR. Ms. Kimball and Ms. Parks Outlook calendar, the county's holiday calendar, supplemental emails as well. Just to give the board a kind of a background and summary of the complaint. Ms. Parks was initially hired in December of 2024. In March of 2025, she had a performance review. That performance review said that she was lacking. In March of 2025, she was also terminated. The reason for the termination was failure to meet county expectation. It said that she lacked flexibility and inability to stay on task. Ms. Parks alleged that the termination was due to retaliation against Ms. Campbell. Ms. Campbell is the director and her direct supervisor. Ms. Parks did contact the county manager and asked that the county manager look into the issues, which is how Ms. Sagnott got involved. Ms. Sagnott conducted the internal investigation for the county manager and made various recommendations. Based on her interview, she spoke with Mr. Marcus Adams. He did say that that budget department workplace was very strained. He said that it lacked trust and communication. He believed that Ms. Parks was not properly trained to do her job. He felt like Ms. Parks was prohibited from interacting with him and Ms. Adams, which is the other budget analyst. He said that he reported how the workplace environment felt to both HR and the Director of Financial Services, Mr. Smith. And he said that Ms. Parks was working on things without their knowledge and they kind of was unsure of what her job role was. Ms. Adams is the other budget analyst. It's important to know this is only a department of 4 at the time, which is Mr. Adams, Ms. Parks, and Ms. Campbell, who's the director. Ms. Adams said that the department is full of tension. It has no clear sense of direction. She feels like as a whole, the department has no training, has no direction. And before Ms. Parks joined, she would have considered the workplace hostile. She said that she reported these concerns both to HR and the director. She indicated that Ms. Parks did tell her that she did not know Excel, nor did she really know how to use PowerPoint. And one department meeting during Ms. Parks' tenure, they only had one department meeting during her tenure between December of 2024 and March of 2025. She said that she was told that Ms. Parks was not worth her salary, and she believed that Ms. Parks' termination was by design. The director of budget was interviewed. She indicated that Ms. Parks did not ever set up a time with her to review working files. She did not come prepared for questions for her. She described Ms. Parks as disengaged and disinterested. She said that Ms. Parks waited until the 90-day deadline of when an assignment was due to actually say that she did not understand the Tyler system. She said that she was given an assignment on March 3rd. She met with her on March 14th for 2 to 3 hours. And at that time, Ms. Parks stated that she felt like she did not have enough time to have the assignment completed. Both Ms. Parks, or both Ms. Adams and Mr. Adams believe that Ms. Parks was not properly trained in her role. They do believe that she was prevented from communicating with the team. They said that the director was made aware of this, but nothing was done. The emails from Mr. Adams and Ms. Adams to Ms. Campbell all indicated the same. It seems like they were going through the same thing as Ms. Parks and probably still continue to do so. I know that one of the things that Ms. Campbell said in response to an email from Ms. Adams was that the best way to learn is to dive in and see what makes sense. So it does appear as though there is a fundamental difference of the employees saying they feel like they don't have the support, the training, and the response necessary to do their jobs properly. And Ms. Campbell saying, get in there and do it, figure it out, learn from your own errors. The team member also stated that Ms. Campbell was not available for trainings or responsive to any questions. In fact, not completing her investigation, she did find and made a recommendation to the county. She found enough evidence to deem the workplace environment hostile. She felt like that there was retaliation warranting a personal action against Director Campbell. She felt like there was lack of communication and failure to provide training with the staff that was true. And she said, and I quote, two very different things are true at the same time. And she ultimately recommended for Ms. Campbell to get leadership training and management training. However, in her investigation, she also feels as though Ms. Parks lacked the necessary performance needed to do her own job. So while she agrees with Ms. Parks that the environment was not the best workplace environment, she also agrees with the separation and determination because she felt like Ms. Parks did not have the skills necessary to do it from the beginning. He pointed directly to the statement that Ms. Parks made where she said within her first week of coming in, I don't know how to use Excel and I don't know how to use PowerPoint. She said that to her coworkers. Based on my review and looking at the code of what was alleged, the first thing was failure to show impartiality in performing official duties. As the board knows, this is giving someone the reasonable impression that they can unduly equal the favor of the performance or the kinship that's being associated with this particular person or each individual. I did not find a failure to show impartiality. I was explained that on each individual person. Misuse of position, that's the code where the board determines whether or not an employee use their position to try to get some type of unwarranted benefits or exemption for himself or herself. I also did not find probable cause as it relates to this or any of the respondents. Starting with the first respondent, Ms. Campbell, I agree after reviewing all of the evidence submitted with Ms. Sagnon. Ms. Campbell obviously creates a very hostile workplace environment, not only for Ms. Parks, who was terminated, but also for the other two employees. And as a result, there's nobody being favored over another. They all say the same thing about her. So I did not see where there was impartiality in any way, because honestly, all of them have the sentiments about her. So as a result, I do not see probable cause for failure to show impartiality. For misuse of position, I did not see where she had got some type of unwarranted privilege for herself or used her position to obtain some type of unwarranted privilege for herself. So for that reason, I recommend dismissal for lack of probable cause for Ms. Campbell, while I am wholeheartedly heartbroken for Ms. Parks. And I understand that she may have other legal remedies that she may need to explore. I do not believe this meets the probable cause standard for our ethical rules. Before I go to the next respondent, are there any questions about Director Campbell? Yes, sir.
I have one question by the statement of it was done by design. Is there a clarification of what that really means?
No clarification from the interview. In her notes for Ms. Adams, that's who made that statement. Her comment is saying things such as, when she said by design, she said before she got here, while she was here, and after she left. I want to quote it directly. Easier way for me to go through this document.
It's the Ms. Adams interview.
Ivy Adams. This is exhibit 7 for quick reference.
Separately.
She said that for feelings, like she would have been able to find part something that she could do and how to use parts. Campbell wanted to keep her separated. That's how it reads. Adams stated that parts termination was by design before, during, and after.
Who interviewed part of the position?
Who interviewed her for the position? I'm not sure.
Did, Ms. Campbell ever interact with her prior to hiring and approve?
I'm not sure.
Certain criteria you have to meet, were there are certain criteria you have to meet to qualify for the position?
Yes, I do know Mr. Adams, Marcus Adams, applied for the position. And he was told by Ms. Campbell that he could not get the position, that he lacked the skills necessary for that position.
So at the initial interview, she qualified based on the information she had in her application.
I'm going to assume so because she was.
So what? I guess my next question, because they say she said she can do PowerPoint and Excel and all that. Had she ever submitted any documents with those systems? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
Don't know. I just know based on the investigation, Ms. Parks told that to her coworkers, to Ms. Adams specifically. And I believe she told Mr. Adams as well that she could not do Excel and PowerPoint.
I guess my question would be, had she ever submitted anything? Because even if that's third part. Somebody said, she didn't say that, someone else said that. So was any of her duties that she had been assigned or any of her assignments, had she used those to submit those assignments? That would be a question I would want to know, because if she was using those PowerPoint and Excel, and now you come back and tell me I'm not qualified, but I was qualified at the initial. So I don't know how to fall into these two. Maybe that would be.
The termination that they gave was not qualification based. They said she was terminated for lack of flexibility and inability to stay on task, failure to meet county expectations. That's what they said as to why. In her response, Ms. Park's response to the county manager, she indicated she did understand that Georgia was an at-will state. She did understand that she could ultimately be terminated for any reason, but she felt as though the termination was because they did not address her concerns of it being a hostile environment and it being retaliatory.
I have a question. Was she terminated based off of probationary period?
Yes,
Yeah.
she was.
What's the probationary period timeframe?
I think it was
80?
180 days, I believe it was.
Right on the mark then.
Mhm. It was also one of the issues that she brought up was she felt as though the probationary period was abused. And that, like you said, she was terminated right on the mark. The county did have the county's attorney to review it as well, which is why I believe that's why she's the name responded. And the county attorney affirmed that it was during the time and the county basically did everything right in her termination.
So it seems like it came up earlier. So you don't know who made the interview panel that hired?
No, I do not. That was not in the evidence submitted to me.
And during this period, was she ever evaluated? 30,
There was no,
60 days?
there was an evaluation and that evaluation was given to her shortly before termination.
It only shows she met 2 of the. It was in there through it.
It was in there as well.
2 of the things were met, the rest of them were all unmet.
And I believe that evaluation, it may have been less than a week in her, right before termination. And out of the criteria on her evaluation, as Mr. Craig said, 2 of them were not met and 2 of those were met. I believe that may be what Ms. Adams could be referring to when she said termination by design. Again, that's me assuming.
I
But
would-
that's,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you go ahead.
You know, it, by design sounds subjective, right? However, not really understanding what Ms. Adams meant, though, it makes it a little bit hard to kind of come to some resolution for me.
Okay.
Now I'm done.
I have a question in regards to the posting for the position. Do you know whether or not there was a clause in there stating that there was a 90 or 180-day probationary period with the position?
I don't know for this position, but I've never seen that on any position that the county posts. They understand is they usually give you the information or your offer and once they're onboarding you.
So she was provided notice that it was probationary period.
It's in the county policies. So even if she wasn't given it explicitly, it's in their handbook. And that they did send her a copy. She asked for it, a copy of where it was, and they referred her to the policy manual. My concern with this case is, or with Ms. Campbell particularly, is there is a lot of wrongdoing that was against Ms. Park. And if she seek an employment attorney, they may flesh that out. But for ethical violations, I could not see how it would fit. I believe this is more of one of those HR issues. And it looks like the county did investigate it, did find that there were some issues, and did reprimand Ms. Campbell. When I spoke to Ms. Parks made it very, 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 very clear that all she wanted was her job back. She wants nothing more but her job back. And when I was speaking with her in regards to this complaint and my concerns about the complaint, giving her a heads up, I think this may be more of a HR issue. She said she did understand that, but she was almost trying to go through any avenue she could because she was not treated fairly. And based on the evidence I reviewed, I agree she was not treated fairly.
So I still have questions on how she was hired. I would love to know her hiring process. Who interviewed her? Who recommended her? What was required to hold the position? And how soon after she started the position did she admit to not, or at least informing them that she didn't know how to use certain programs, if in fact she said that? So I would like to confirm, and if at any point did it get back to the head of the department, if those programs weren't a requirement to the position, however, they were necessary to do the work of the position, but it wasn't clearly specified or required for her to be hired, then I'm curious, at some point, was there no training? Who trained everyone else in the department?
Everyone in the department said they didn't have training.
So no one was trained.
Yes.
Now, question, impartiality. Does it have to be, I didn't do it for them, or because I did it for them and I didn't do it for you, that's showing impartiality? Could impartiality be, this is my job to train, but I did not train you because I didn't want to, because I felt like you should go sink in there and do it yourself? Was it her responsibility as director of the department to train? And if in fact it was, then in some way she was impartial because she didn't really fulfill her commitment to that particular employee. Regardless, she didn't complete that commitment to any of them.
I put the code back on here up so everybody can see it. Based on my reading and interpretation of the code, it's always been impartiality in the way you treat an individual compared to others. So by having her conduct give reasonable basis for the impression that any person can improperly influence him or her or unduly enjoy his or her favor in the performance of his or her official actions or actions, or that he or she is affected unduly by the rank or position of the kinship or association with any person.
I can do other.
So the way I read this and have interpreted is always comparing it with the association or kinship with something or someone else.
And that's why I want to know how she was hired. Because if she was recommended by, if she was hired by, and Ms. Campbell had an idea or she had another person in mind, then because you're not the person I would have chosen for this position, I've been made to accept you in this position, when in reality, I wanted someone else. So at that point, she's unduly affected because she was never wanted. And so I would like to know her hiring process. Because was she unfairly treated because she wasn't the desired person for the position? That's what I want to know. So I wouldn't not yet, until I know those answers. But we'll see what the board says.
I would agree with you, because even if the job description didn't require for her to have those training, it's the employer's responsibility to ensure that you're trained to do your job. So even though she didn't train anybody,
Who's still her
she's
job?
not doing her job.
Okay, so there's a couple concerns here, because if we're asking for the interview process, then we need to look at the file. We also need her resume and the job posting to see if her resume match, and that's going into HR realm. But I'm looking at it as a 90-day probationary, 180-day probationary period. And if you are given notice that you're on a 180-day probationary period, now the only concern I have, that maybe they were not adequate counseling. However, if you were let go because you did not meet the criteria for the position, then the county is in the right and release that individual if they feel that that person is not performing to their liking.
I think it also creates a slippery slope. Because one of the things that is made very clear is the board is not HR. And there's this line of when something should go through HR and HR process. Even in my trainings, I tell them, when you have workplace harassment, labor law, discrimination, the board can't hear those issues. Those are employment law issues, and you need to seek an employment law attorney. This issue, word that Ms. Parks used all throughout her complaint, was discrimination, retaliation. Those are key employment issues. And I respectfully disagree with the chair. I read that code very differently and interpret it very differently. And I don't believe that with failure to show impartiality, it encompasses whether or not I give someone something I'm supposed to be doing for them as a supervisor. To me, the code was written in a way to be transparent and to keep down things such as, what do you call it? When some, like bribes. Favoritism in that type of way. If I'm a police officer, you can't bribe me. I can't give you certain favoritisms or do special things for you, or you think because I'm your supervisor, I can give you longer lunches. That is kind of the realm in which most of these clauses are intended to be written. And so because all employees in the same department said the exact same thing about Ms. Campbell, it's unfortunate that it's happening in that department, and I'm hoping the county is doing something about it. But I don't see it as a violation of this issue, and I wouldn't want it to create a slippery slope.
Who was hired in the position once she was fired? Was that
I believe
person
the position still remains open.
vacant?
Ms. Adams said in her interview that she does not believe that a fifth person is needed. She says that her and Mr. Adams work very well together. She believes all the work can be done within that department, but they have a definite communication issue. So Mr. Adams and Ms. Adams, they cannot get the training and or information they need from Ms. Campbell, who is the director. In one of the emails from Mr. Adams, he even told Ms. Campbell in that email, the system that you're asking us to now learn in December 2024, you built the system. We don't know it, but you're asking us to master it in a matter of one training that you gave us. And we're asking you an email, can you provide us more training because we don't understand what you built? So it seems like there's a lot of frustration amongst everybody in that department when it comes to the director and lack of training, being provided with information they needed, and lack of responses to their emails.
Question, is Ms. Park challenging the termination?
I'll say partly yes, because she feels as though the termination was retaliation.
Okay, so in which venue is she challenging it?
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you meant before this board.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's not, she's not challenging for this board.
She is challenged. That's part of her complaint. And she feels that she was wrongfully terminated because of retaliation,
But we don't hear for terminations.
which is why I recommended the dismissal, because it seems as though it's more on the HR side than the ethical side. I did ask her, had she spoken with an employment attorney? And she did answer that question.
Okay.
Any questions on Ms. Smith Ms. Campbell, before I go to Mr. Smith? The next individual is Mr. Smith. And to give you a summary of how he plays a role in this saga, Mr. Smith is the Director of Finance. Ms. Adams, Mr. Adams, and Ms. Parks all reported concerns of the treatment by Ms. Campbell to Mr. Smith. All of them report that it falls on deaf ears, as I quote one of the interviews. They don't feel like Mr. Smith did anything. They don't feel like Mr. Smith holds Ms. Campbell accountable. At one point in the interview process, Ms. Adams said that Mr. Smith asked her to check in with Ms. Parks and what was going on with her. Almost as if you've been here longer, Ms. Parks is having issues, can you look into it? But that is the only role he played in the that were given us outside of actually being in the meeting in which she was terminated. When he was in the meeting where she was terminated, he was quiet. Ms. Campbell actually did the termination. The only thing that he answered was Ms. Parks asked the question, is this a discussion or is this a goodbye? And he said, this is a goodbye. That was the only thing he said. So based on the facts involving Mr. Smith, and I recommend dismissal for proper cause for failure to show impartiality as well as misuse of position. Any questions on Mr. Smith?
What's his title?
He is the Director of Finances.
And is he the final approving authority for terminations or no?
I don't know if it's him specifically. I think the county manager has to do all the approval of termination, or maybe even the head of HR. I do know that Ms. Campbell had approval. I looked that up, actually had approval to proceed with the termination of Ms. Party. I don't know who that approval came from. She actually had Ms. Rogers. I don't think she's one of the main respondents, but Ms. Rogers actually said, she's from HR, sit in the room with her on the day that she terminated Ms. Parks, which is very abnormal. Ms. Rogers said that she was hesitant because usually HR does not accompany any term meeting. But Ms. Campbell indicated to Ms. Rogers that that was the first term meeting that she had ever had to do. And she wanted HR president to make sure she was doing it right. Any questions on Mr. Smith? The role that Ms. Matthews played in this is very slim. The only thing that evidence that was provided to the board in regards to Ms. Matthews is the fact that she asked Ms. Stagnott to investigate Ms. Park's complaint. So because of that, I recommend dismiss for lack of probable cause. Ms. LaFontaine, only facts presented to the board in regards to her was the fact that she's head of HR, and Ms. Adams, Mr. Adams, and I believe Ms. Parks also made these same concerns to HR, but nothing was done. Due to the lack of evidence to support either one of those, I recommend dismissal for lack of probable cause against her as well.
I would have a question about that. Since she's the HR manager, I know we're basing it on if they treat others the same. Did she look into other complaints? Because maybe she was impartial in her position if she looked into other complaints, but just didn't look into this department.
I don't know. We would have to probably subpoena every complaint that every employee has filed to see if she looked into all of them.
Yeah, because apparently they have complaints against Ms. Campbell. And if we're saying one isn't doing a job and we're saying the other one isn't either, how do we dismiss one and keep the other? And how do we not investigate the other? Because apparently they investigated because they gave some sort of disciplinary measure, what they.
The county manager investigated. County manager assigned Ms. Stagnott to conduct an investigation
Of the department.
of the department. Yes, ma'am.
And they required additional training for.
That was the recommendation. I don't know if that actually was implemented, but I do know the recommendation itself was for her, Ms. Campbell, to have
Did it give
leadership and management training.
how long ago was that recommendation made?
This was, it may be less than 60 days.
Less than 6 days. And is there a time period of which that training needs to take place? Or they give a
So I
Time
guess
frame.
basically they would have corrected it then, because if they did an investigation, that means that HR probably had to get involved, so it's probably already corrected.
And I misspoke. This investigation was actually done. She was terminated in March. This investigation was in April.
So after the termination of Ms. Parks, Ms. Campbell was investigated. What's the recommendation for her is to get additional training?
Yes, leadership and management training. And Ms.
Was it required of her before she got the job? No.
It was also found that
Because it sounds like she lacked the
it was a
experience.
hostile environment and that retaliation warrants and personal actions against Ms. Campbell was done.
Did she like the experience when she was hired?
I know she remains an employee.
If we're saying one failed and the other failed pretty miserably, it sounds like, how can one not be, okay.
Last one is against Ms. Shannon Stagnott. I'm not really clear at any facts against Ms. Stagnott. Ms. Stagnott, in my opinion, did a very thorough investigation, did a very good job, I commend her.
Yeah.
It was not biased at all. And so I would again recommend dismiss for lack of cause.
If anything, Ms. Sagna helped Ms. Parks.
I believe so. I believe she was very
She
thorough.
gave her plenty of ammunition.
And she brought, she did. And she brought to light everything that was going on in the department. The last one is Ms. Mack. Again, I'm not really sure what role or facts would support her. A complaint against her, the only thing I could assume is because she wrote the letter saying that she reviewed everything and based on the probationary period and the review performance, the county had the authority to dismiss her. So again, I recommend dismissal for lack of probable cause. Ultimately, for the board to decide, my recommendation is overall it appears like this is a more of an employment issue than an ethical issue. So for all parties, I recommend dismiss for lack of probable cause on failure to show impartiality in performing official duties as well as misuse of position. And you probably want to vote person by person, so if you need me to go back per slide, I can.
Okay.
Can we just work backwards? Since this is up.
If you all would like.
All right, is there a motion for Mrs. Rachel Mack?
Vote for dismissal
Which,
of this misuse of duties and lack of probable cause.
you're voting to dismiss for like, cause for both. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? For Mrs. Shannon Sagnant.
I make the motion to dismiss for lack of probable cause as failure to show impartiality in performing official duties as well as misuse of position.
Second.
All in favor? And as it pertains to Mrs. Holly LaFontaine, is there a motion?
I make a motion to dismiss for lack of probable cause for both counts.
So there's a motion to dismiss for lack of probable cause for failure to show impartiality and perform official duties and misuse of position. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? As it relates to County Manager Sherry Matthews, is there a motion on the floor?
A motion that we dismiss for a lack of probable cause for both failure to show impartiality in performing official duties as well as misuse of position.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? As it relates to Mr. David Smith, is there a motion on the floor?
I make the motion to dismiss for lack of probable cause as to failure to show impartiality in performing official duties and misuse of position.
Second.
All in favor? Everyone, as it relates to Ms. Bernita Campbell. And there is nothing else that we can put in. Jesus, take the wheel. Is there a motion on the floor? Can I dissent? Can I not vote?
You have to vote, Chair.
Jesus Christ.
I make a motion. Even though there are some issues, but the issues were handled through HR. So therefore, I make a motion to dismiss for failure to show impartiality and perform official duties. I'm dismissed for lack of proper cause and misuse of position. I also motion to vote to dismiss for lack of probable cause as well.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? That's Mr. Craig. No,
I did not know.
Craig and Mr. Craig and I said no. I think that's the last.
That is all, Chair. Are there any other questions?
The board have any other questions that relates to any of those? Is there a need to go into executive session tonight? Right, so the meeting is adjourned. I motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
In favor? Jesus. Thank you. Thank you.
I gotta handle my second.